Hi, I'm Shelby. I am the chef and owner of Ironwood Catering. As many of you know, we're a small catering company based out of here in Bruderheim. We do Edmonton and area. We're mostly a mobile catering company. So we're doing remote farm weddings and stuff like that. So we do everything, birthday parties, weddings. Today we are making Black Forest cake. When most people think of Germany, the first dessert that they think of is Black Forest cake. It was invented, actually, I found out, in 1915 by a pastry chef named Joseph Keller, sorry. It actually didn't become super popular right away because there weren't a lot of refrigerators back then, and it's a cream-based cake. So it became, once refrigerators were a really big thing, it became huge, and it became, I think it was number 13 on the 15 best cakes in Germany. So fun little tidbit about Black Forest cakes. So this recipe story is kind of short. It is a family recipe. It's been in my family since my cousin Penny told me all about it and said it was the best German chocolate cake recipe that she's tried. So I trusted her and we've been making it ever since. So to start, it is probably the easiest cake you're ever gonna make. Just gonna one second. Gotta boil water for it, that's the hardest part. But you just dump everything all in one and then add the boiling water at the end. So we're gonna start with 2 cups of sugar. And then we've got 1 3/4 cups of flour. I use an all-purpose unbleached flour, but you can use cake flour, all-purpose bread flour. It's all worked for me. 3/4 cups of cocoa. And then in this little bowl, I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Right in there. I like to give my dry ingredients just a little bit of a mix just to get it all incorporated before you add the wet ingredients. So next we're gonna add, I've got 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of oil, and 1 cup of milk with 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Again, super easy. You just pour it all in. There's no special mixing where some cakes you have to just barely mix it so that it doesn't overmix and it won't rise properly. This one, you just throw it all together. So all you want to look for is no clumps. Once your water has boiled, you're going to add 1 cup of boiling water. And the purpose of the boiling water is for the cocoa powder. When you're using cocoa powder instead of actual real chocolate, it helps to bloom the cocoa powder, so you get a lot more richer flavor from the cake. So throw it in. And that's it. So once you get all that put together, it is a very liquidy cake batter. So I know that can kind of scare some people in the beginning, but it's totally normal. It rises beautifully. You just pour it into your cake pan. Right now I'm using a square pan. Get all the little bits. All right. And then you're gonna wanna pop that in the oven for 20 minutes at 350. 20 minutes will give you a really nice moist cake. When you do the stick test, it'll actually come out with a moist crumb. It won't look fully cooked. That again, first time I baked it was a little bit scary, but it actually will finish cooking after you take it out of the oven. So then it's like I said, it creates a really moist cake. It's not too dry. It's not pulling away from the edges. Don't get any hard bits around there. So. Because we're super prepared today. Oh, look, our cake baked. Okay. So, decorating the Black Forest cake. There are a few things that are musts. It's whipped cream and cherries. They traditionally do kirsch, but I like cherry brandy. And I actually make my own. So I'll just take any kind of brandy that you can find and I put it in with the maraschino cherries and let it sit. And it makes this beautiful little syrup. So split the cake. They don't come out of the oven this way. I had to do this beforehand. Right. Little trick when you're splitting a cake, don't take the spatulas out, just leave it. You'll never get them back under there. Okay. So you take your brandy syrup or your kirsch and you just drizzle over the whole cake. You can put as much or as little as you want. This just helps with moisture, gives it that little bit of an extra kick from the brandy. So traditionally, I have changed my recipe a little bit. Traditionally, you're looking for a cherry pie filling. Because I'm a chef and not a baker, I made it easy for myself. I mix the cherry pie filling with my whipped cream. And as you can see, it kind of stabilizes it. And then you're not going to get that ooze out the sides, which is really difficult for me. So that is not traditional Black Forest, but for me, it works. And it still tastes good. So take it. And this is just however you feel. Put as much as you want. Spread it out. And the nice thing about this cake is it doesn't have to be perfect. Like whenever you look at pictures of Black Forest cake or you get it in a restaurant, it's nice and fluffy whipped cream. It's not perfectly straight around like you see some of those cakes. So I just make sure I get the filling right to the edge. Okay. And then we're going to put our top back on. Let's try. Okay. And then you're gonna slather it in whipped cream. Nice thing with this recipe, traditionally the whipped cream is very melty. If anybody's made whipped cream, you know, in any kind of heat, it's gonna fall. So you're supposed to set it with gelatin. So you bloom gelatin and throw it and whip it. It's very difficult. I've come up with a trick. Well, okay, scratch that. My mother has come up with a trick. And you add vanilla pudding. Vanilla instant pudding will set your whipped cream, still tastes amazing, and it doesn't fall. It will make it through at least the Alberta heat in the summer for our cakes. So it's really nice. Okay. And you just slather it on there. Again, does not have to be any kind of pretty. try and ice the sides for you guys with an audience. Ooh. Anybody have any questions while I'm so diligently trying to ice a cake for you? Yeah, that's exactly what you do. Make whipped cream just like normal. I add, so for one large whipping cream, what is that? 4 cups, I think, a liter. That's 1/3 of a cup of icing sugar. So you bring it to almost peaks. You add your 1/3 of a cup of icing sugar. And then you bring it, then after adding the icing sugar, you bring it to peak. So it's nice and stiff. And then you add it's usually 1 package of vanilla instant pudding, I think is 94 grams. So you'll add that whole package to the whipped cream. And you just very quickly give it a little mix and you wait for it. You'll start to see it come together. It'll start to look like over whipped cream, but it's like more on the icing side. So it's really nice. So as soon as you get that stage, you're done. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's edible. I think this is a 9 by 13. You can get 20 pieces, 20 decent pieces. Or you can just cut it in half and split it with your partner. So we're just garnishing it with the maraschino cherries, and you can throw on chocolate shavings. You can throw on, if you want to get fancy, do little rosettes, but this is what we typically do when we're doing sheet cakes for catering and people order it. So there you go.